It wouldn't be a transfer window if Arsenal didn't go in for a defender. The Gunners are in active talks over a deal for Valencia's Cristhian Mosquera. We're going to react to that, and we're going to talk Myles Lewis-Skelly after his new contract at Arsenal was announced a little bit earlier on in the day. Welcome to a bonus episode of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, how are we doing? Happy Thursday afternoon and welcome to a bonus episode of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. You're getting 4 episodes across 2 days. It's pretty good going, but it's also a sign of the fact that Arsenal, even if I don't agree with every single one of the signings that they seem to be working on at the moment, it's a sign that Arsenal have at least accelerated in terms of getting their business done and getting some business in through the door. Now, it's not the striker that we all want. It's not the big blockbuster Hollywood attacker that we all want. But I guess the first thing I'll say about this Cristhian Mosquera link is it shouldn't come as a surprise to many people. And we'll expand on that point a little bit later on in the show. So let me just begin, I think, by giving you the rundown of what's happening. Surprise, surprise. Arsenal are in for a defender. Let's bring you up to speed with exactly what has been reported. So Arsenal are working on a deal to sign Valencia defender Cristhian Mosquera. This is a story written by David Ornstein and James McNicholas of The Athletic. Fabrizio Romano has also reported it. But first to the punch, I believe, is or was Hand of Arsenal. It's an X account. I don't know who's behind it, but it's an X account that seems to be getting a fair amount right at the moment and being really kind of quick off the mark. So fair play. And, you know, I talk a lot about these aggregators, the nameless, faceless aggregators. Some of them are actually quite good. Not all of them. And most of them are just hiding behind accounts and spreading complete and utter nonsense. But there are a few good ones. And this appears to be one of those. So I'll read you some bits and pieces from David Ornstein and James McNicholas's report. They say that Arsenal are working on a deal to sign the Valencia defender. The North London club have made a defensive signing a priority this summer, with the 20-year-old Spanish youth international currently their preferred option. Mosquera has been with Valencia since the age of 12, progressing through the academy ranks before making his first team debut back in January 2022. He's made 90 appearances for the La Liga club in total, including 41 last season. That included playing 90 minutes in 37 of the club's 38 league games. He's a right-footed and physically imposing centre-back. Arsenal see Mosquera as ideal cover for the first-choice pairing of Gabriel and William Saliba. Obviously, they previously looked at Dean Howson before he left Bournemouth for Real Madrid earlier this summer. Saliba and Gabriel played the majority of games in central defence last term, with Kivior, Timber, White and Calafiori being the backup options. Mosquera would be adding another layer to that. Born to Colombian parents in Alicante, he's also eligible to play for Colombia's senior side, but has featured regularly throughout the Spanish youth setup, including at this summer's European under-21 European Championship. So, okay, let's start with why you shouldn't be surprised by this. First of all, apart from the obvious, which is that Mikel Arteta just loves defenders. Arsenal were strongly linked with Dean Howson earlier on in the window, and there was a serious, concrete interest in the Bournemouth man. He went off to Real Madrid, but if Arsenal were interested in him and were willing to trigger that £50 million release clause that we were hearing all about at the time, then that indicated, didn't it, that their want for a central defender, their want for another defensive recruit was legit and was genuine. And when you think about it, you know, we've got Gabriel and Saliba there, fantastic pairing. We've got Jakub Kivior, who came in and did a really good job. It feels like, you know, in terms of the right-hand side of that back four, in order to cover it, we'd have been looking at one of White or Timber, but unfortunately, we rarely had them both in tip-top form and tip-top shape last season. So, you know, one of them's going to need to play that role. I think Mikel Arteta would just rather have a few more options at the back. There's a few reasons for that. Tierney's gone. Zinchenko's probably going. I'd say the biggest reason is that maybe the club have kind of just given up a little bit on Takahiro Tomiyasu getting fit, staying fit, and being able to provide Arsenal with that extra bit of cover. We know Arteta likes to sign defenders. We know it's defense first in terms of the way that he built this team. And I'm not surprised that Arsenal are making this move. Do I know a huge amount about Cristhian Mosquera? Not really. And so we're going to sit and we're going to go through some bits and pieces on today's bonus podcast. We've got some information to share with you guys, and we'll try and draw some conclusions from that as we go. But before I dive into maybe how this came about, and we try and understand a little bit more about the player and sort of what he's all about, I want to go into the comments and get some reaction from you guys on this. What have we got? Jonathan K says, this is a deal I like. Benny says, pay off Tomiyasu. Andy says, just referring to the last couple of episodes, let's crowdfund the Norgard shirt for Harry. Jonathan says, good scouting, reminds me of when we signed Gabriel and Saliba. Lots of praise for Hand of Arsenal. The account breaking this news, Akash says, is great. Vig says he's on a generational run. Absolutely. Akash says, I love the way that Berta is moving quick. I mean, look, for a long time in this window, we've been talking a lot about the need for Arsenal to kind of come on, get a move on, to move forward, to push forward, to be quicker, and to go out there and actually execute these deals that we've been hearing a fair bit about. And it does feel like in the last few days, there's been a real pressing down of the accelerator to try and get us into a place and into a position where going into pre-season, we've got the vast majority of our business done. Now, we still haven't recruited in the attacking positions, and that'll be frustrating for some, because for a lot of people, that is the priority. But clearly, we're ready to hit the go button on these defensive / midfield deals, because they are there and they are available, and we're able to get those done without too much faff, without too much negotiation, and without too much fuss. A defensive signing was not massively high up my priority list, I got to be honest. But the minute we were linked with Dean Howson, it was always likely that Arsenal were going to go out and get one. Now, what we don't have at the moment is any indication really of how much Mosquera is going to cost us. Now, I find this all very, very interesting, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know tons about this player or that he's been on my radar for a while, but I did read a report not that long ago linking him really, really heavily and strongly with RB Leipzig. So how has it got to the stage now where Arsenal are the front runners? Well, Florian Plettenberg has reported that there was a verbal agreement in place with RB Leipzig, but the Bundesliga club have now stepped back from the deal due to a significant increase in the asking price. He also says that Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich were both keeping tabs on the player, and were interested if that was to fall away and if that was to fall apart. Obviously, for whatever reason, and if it is about the asking price, then that's fair enough. RB Leipzig have stepped back, but that has opened the door for Arsenal. Now, an asking price that feels big for RB Leipzig might not feel as big for a club like Arsenal. And I think this is where you really get to understand the might of the Premier League financially, and you get a real kind of feeling for that and a real understanding of that. So, I'm not sure what the price is. Can't tell you at this stage, but Arsenal serious about this player and looking to pick him up. I think we have recruited really well with defenders over the last few years. There's no doubt about that. I think Calafiori will prove to be a really good signing. I think the injury problems that he had last season prevented us from really seeing that. But most of the time when he played, people kind of enjoyed watching him and found him refreshing. And we found him certainly very useful in the attacking third. I'm not necessarily sure that's what he was brought in to be or to do, but we saw great benefit from that. So I'm sure that one will come good. Ben White's been a great signing. Gabriel's been a great signing. Saliba's been a great signing. Obviously, that one originally took place prior to this management and all the rest of it. But, we have done some really, really good things at the back. You think about Julian Timber as well, what a job he's done. He's been unbelievable, I think. And we know that he's been overplayed, and we know that he's been overworked, and probably could do with a bit of a breather this summer, probably more than most. But he has been a great signing. So when we go out and sign defenders, I'm very much of the opinion that we should maybe just take a step back and not just implicitly trust the club, because I'd be a hypocrite if I said that, because I've just been moaning about Cristhian Mosquera for the last 24 hours. Again, let me be clear, not moaning about Cristhian Mosquera, but just moaning about the dynamic of our midfield and how I think it's affected by the arrival of Norgard, but also the departure, which is imminent now, of Thomas Partey. But I think in defence, more than any other area on the pitch, I think Arsenal have got a really good track record under Mikel Arteta. And so I think with this one, we're probably right to just stay calm and cool and collected about it. But again, people will probably ask themselves, and people will probably start asking me in the chat in just a few minutes' time, why are you so chilled about this one, but were so wound up about Norgard? Well, the thing with the Norgard situation was that it was kind of 50% me being underwhelmed by the signing of Cristhian Mosquera, but 50% of me being worried about what we do without Thomas Partey, having already lost Jorginho. Whereas in this instance, we only stand to win. Bringing Cristhian Mosquera in does not weaken us in any way, shape, or form. We'd be bringing in another layer to our defense. And if he's good, brilliant. We've got another top defender on our hands. If he's not, we've still got Gabriel. We've still got Saliba. We've still got Timber that can go in there. We've still got White that can go in there. We've still got Calafiori, Kivior that can go in there. And who knows, one day we might have Tomiyasu fit and available again to be able to go in there. So when it feels like you're really well stocked in an area and in a position, a signing that is made based on the club's, belief in someone, rather than it being, we're losing X and we need to replace them with Y, is always going to be met with a more kind of relaxed view and kind of relaxed demeanor. And that's how I feel about this. Wayne with a very, very kind super chat donation. Thank you so much, mate. Really, really appreciate that. He says, I tend to agree with you on most things, Arsenal. I disagree on Norgard, though, and that's fine. He also says, let's not forget, order of signings don't indicate priority. Completely agree with that. When it comes to the striker deals, we're talking about deals upwards of 65, 70 million pound. They're always going to be more difficult to negotiate than a 10 million pound plus 5 million pound in add-ons deal like the one that we've struck for Cristhian Mosquera. So I completely agree with that. It's an important point to hammer home. But I guess it kind of goes back to what I was alluding to on the last episode that we put out on Thursday morning, which was simply, we will judge all of these signings and we will judge the window on a whole once we understand what the bigger picture looks like and what the squad looks like going into the new campaign. So when I say that I don't particularly agree with the signing, or I'm not particularly on board with any one given signing, it doesn't mean, as I said earlier, that I want everybody sacked and I think it all needs to be ripped up and we need to start again. I just expressed my opinion on certain deals. With Mosquera, I don't really have much of an opinion at this stage, because I do have a gap in my knowledge when it comes to Cristhian Mosquera. And so we're going to read through some bits and pieces now on the show, but we are also going to undertake some research, and we will bring you guys a scouting video. Yes, that means I've got to record 2 tomorrow, because we're already going to bring you a Cristhian Norgard one. We're going to bring you a Cristhian Mosquera one as well. So you'll get one on Friday and one on Saturday, which means it is a great time, perhaps a better time than ever, to become a Chronicles of a Gooner Patreon. During the season, we bring you content after the matches and related to the matches, exclusive content over on Patreon. But during the off-season, we're going to be bringing you these scouting videos. In fact, before we continue our chat about Cristhian Mosquera, I'm going to play you a very, very quick clip from our Martin Zubimendi scouting video that came out earlier this week to give you guys a feel for what we do over there. And you can decide yourselves whether you think it's worth signing up. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. Yep, that's true. I mean, coffees are expensive in London, but still, It's significantly cheaper. In fact, it's half the price of what I paid for a drink from Starbucks just yesterday. He certainly enjoys getting stuck into the challenges, which I didn't think was necessarily a characteristic of Martin Zubimendi's game. Now, I appreciate and accept that in La Liga, it's different. This is him against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Look at that. Again, riding challenges, taking his time and picking out the right pass in the end. That's a lovely win back. Look at that. One sweep out to the left-hand side. He's not just won the ball back there, but he's managed to sweep it out to the left-hand side nice and early. Again, more of these diagonals out to the left-hand side nice and early. Look at that. Takes his time, turns, and then releases just at the right point. Again, taking it in his stride. Brilliantly done. Again, stepping in front of the ball receiver. And that comes from having good anticipation. For those of you listening on audio, that was a clip from our video scouting piece on Martin Zubimendi. Remember, you can access all that stuff by becoming a patron on the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. So go over there and check that out. Now's as good a time as any, as I say, with lots and lots of content coming up over the next few days. If you're watching us live on YouTube right now, be sure to leave a like on the video. It really, really does help. And given there are hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of you watching us live right now, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a couple of hundred likes on the board at the very least right now. And subscribe to the channel. If you're new, leave us a review on audio. Okay, should we go back over to the chat before we read some bits and pieces on Cristhian Mosquera? Lots of you talking about the Eberechi Eze stuff. And this is a report that has come from, well, I've read it from Ben Jacobs. I think Tom Canton put something out as well. And I think Alex Crook of TalkSport has provided a bit of information on this as well. It's said that Eberechi Eze is on a list of left wingers. It's got a £68 million release clause, as far as I understand it. It's a lot of money, but he's a bloody good player. But we're not going to discuss that on this bonus episode of the Chronicles of a Gooner. We're going to save that for the main pod tomorrow. So if you're interested in hearing about that one, and if you're interested in that discussion, we're going to do that tomorrow. So make sure you're tuned in live 10 a.m. every day, UK time. Come and join us. Okay, shall we go into the chat? Let's have a look at what you guys are saying. As I say, all the comments are around Eberechi Eze at the moment. Ben Jacobs is being mentioned, being name dropped a little bit in there as well. Just want to read this comment out. Thank you so much from Nick. He says, bro, I just found your channel a few days ago and I find you so refreshing and cool-headed to explain all things Gooners. We need a striker now, though. Yep, yeah, I agree. I agree with all that. Thank you. Andy says, you can't stop us talking about Eze. I can't, but I'm not going to talk about it. Not now, anyway. Right, shall we have a look a little bit into Cristhian Mosquera then? Let's share the screen for those of you watching us. Hold on a second. Where are we? Window. I have to do it this way, I think. That's the only way it's going to work. There we go. So Cristhian Mosquera, age 20, born June 27th, 2004. So he's going to be 21 tomorrow. Interesting. Born in Alicante, Spain. Currently plays for Valencia. 37 matches played. Got 1 goal in La Liga last season. But the bit I'm interested in is this bit, the scouting report here. Now, FBref has this really cool tool where what they do is they look at your metrics and they then basically, using their database, compare you to players. So there are players that are not necessarily at the same level, but in terms of their characteristics will be categorized very similarly to Cristhian Mosquera. Now, I've got to be honest, when I look at the list of names on this right-hand side of the page that you can see here, I mean, I'm not massively excited really by any of them. Are you? Yannick Vestergaard, Calvin Bassey of Fulham is on there. Anthony Young of Werder Bremen. Moussa Niakate of Lyon is there. Ismail Decore of Strasbourg. Moise Bombito, I beg your pardon. So that isn't massively exciting. Look, when it comes to goals and stuff like that, he's a centre-back, so I'm not really going to read into that too much. But in comparison to some of his peers, he's obviously ranking very, very low. When it comes to some of the on-the-ball stuff, pass completion rate per 90 is on average 90.5%. That puts him in the 80th percentile, so he's better than 79% of his positional peers. Progressive passes, he ranks around about middle of the road. Progressive carries, he's in the 79th percentile, which is pretty high, pretty good. Not that high in successful take-ons. Not great in terms of touches or progressive passes received. But you can understand that he's a centre-back. How many progressive passes is he going to receive in that position? I think this is one that I'm kind of struggling to paint a picture of in my mind purely based on the statistics. And it's why I often argue with people about statistics and say, look, they're great in that they can back up a point and back up an argument, and they should assist you in forming that argument, but they're not the be all and end all. And people need to realize that. You look at this scouting report from Cristhian Mosquera, and, you'd obviously be well within your rights, I think, to turn your nose up at this player and walk away from it. But clearly, Arsenal see something in him, and clearly, they feel that there's reason enough to go after him. So maybe we'll get into that a little bit more when we do the In fact, we definitely will get into that a little bit more when we do the scouting video, and we'll try and gauge a better understanding of who and what exactly Cristhian Mosquera is. But it looks as though Arsenal are progressing, are in pole position to sign the player, and that would be essentially, a couple of deals in the space of a couple of days. And obviously, we're going to get the Kepa announcement soon. We're probably going to get the Zubimendi announcement within the next week or so as well. So, again, you might not agree with every single one of the signings that we're making, but at the very least, Arsenal are moving again and moving in this window. And I think that'll give people a lot of encouragement when it comes to not just these particular deals and getting them resolved, but also with some of the bigger ones that we're expected to do and are hoping to do between now and when the window slams shut. Okay, we're going to take a short pause. When we come back, we're going to react to the news that Myles Lewis-Skelly has officially signed a new contract at Arsenal. We'll do that next.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe.
That's right. You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe. Time now to talk Myles Lewis-Skelly. Myles Lewis-Skelly's new contract with the club has officially been announced. This was announced about half an hour or so after we finished the live stream for Thursday morning's pod. So we didn't get around to covering it then, but Myles Lewis-Skelly, it's been confirmed to sign a new long-term contract with the club. The 18-year-old enjoyed a breakthrough season in 24-25. You can say that again, becoming the latest graduate from our Hale End Academy to cement his position in the first-team squad. Joined the club as an 8-year-old and played an instrumental role in each of the age groups as he moved through the years, rose to prominence during the 2022-23 season when he scored a memorable late winner for our under-18s against City in the FA Youth Cup semi-final and played every minute in the heart of our midfield during our run to the final. Obviously, shortly after that, signed his professional contract with the club upon turning 17. But last season saw him burst onto the scene as part of our defence, making 39 first-team appearances in all competitions. There's a lovely little video that the club have put together. What they did was invited, I think, his grandmother down to the stadium. They gave her a bit of a tour of the Emirates Stadium. There's a lovely, heartwarming video of Myles taking his grandmother through the stadium. And when they walk out into the kind of bowl of the stadium, there's a massive group of all his nearest and dearest there ready to celebrate with him. So it's fantastic. He says, I've embodied the values of Hale End and come through. He began by saying, I'm so proud and happy. I know those words are simple, but I think they sum up how I'm feeling signing for this club. I'm a fan. It's like a dream come true. He said, if I can stay humble and be a good person, that's the most important thing to me. He said, I know I've taken a lot of experience from the games about the positive moments, but also the mistakes that I've made. I'm definitely more ready now for next season. I just want to keep learning and keep improving. I want a legacy. I want to win everything there is to win in the game. I want to win trophies on the biggest stages whilst being a person that's always learning and stays grounded, which is so important. The new contract is subject to the completion of the regulatory processes. So that's done. We've got that official announcement, and that is massive, massive news. You know, we're obsessed with bringing people in. We're obsessed with, bringing in shiny new toys. But it's also really, really important that when you do unearth these gems, that you ensure that you keep a hold of them, that you ensure that they feel wanted. The family stuff is a lovely touch in order to try and kind of make him feel like this is where he belongs and all the rest of it. And I just think this is big. You know, we've already wrapped up Big Gabby's contract this summer. We've now done Myles Lewis-Skelly's. We're moving in the right direction from what we understand with Saka and Saliba and Nwaneri as well. And as I say, yeah, regeneration, renewal, all of those things are really important in terms of bringing in new players, but they're also, especially renewal, really important when it comes to those that you already have as well. So, yeah, really, really excited about what the future holds for Myles Lewis-Skelly. We talked about him, I think, a good week or so ago. When we heard that the contract had been agreed, we kind of touched on how important it is to keep him, what it means for him going forward, and maybe what the future holds for him. Will he be a midfielder eventually? Is that where he'll end up representing the Arsenal? We'll have to wait and see on all that. But top talent, great attitude. And I think although last season was testing at times and there were some really, really difficult moments, I think the positive or the biggest positive for me, one of, if not the biggest, was that we were able to bring Myles Lewis-Skelly through. And he's taken to it like a duck to water. And I can't wait to see how much more he can improve. Okay, we are going to leave it there. Short episode, bonus episode of the pod. If you want some more Cristhian Norgard chat, you can go over to the pod that we released earlier. And if you're here for Ebereche Eze chat, well, that is coming up tomorrow morning on the full episode. So make sure you join us for that. We'll be live on YouTube at 10 a.m. and the episode will be available to download on all major podcast stores from shortly after that. So around about 11 a.m. Make sure you join us. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't done so already. Make sure you've left a like on the video if you're watching here on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to leave us a review. That stuff really, really does help. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast, and I'll be back very, very soon with more. Until the next one, take care of yourself.